Hi. Welcome to King Pollys World, where dreams come true. And another dream is coming true today for me and for you, because we have a magnificent guest here today that, she's a hoot and a half. She is truly a magnetic person that I've met through Instagram. And I loved her energy, her love of plants. She is a plant mama through and through, a creative soul, and really just such a kind, inspiring human.
Thank you.
Please welcome Queen Jesika. Oh, and the crowd goes wild.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I feel like it's all those same things that you said about me, but about you.
Oh.
Like when I
sweet.
discovered you on Instagram, I was like, oh my God, magnetic positivity, just like cool authenticity is what the vibe I got. I was like, you're just doing you for you because you can.
Yes. See, we see each other.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that in my life. It feels like that's happening more and more, where I'm meeting people where I'm like, wow, like this person is just so cool. And I take it as I must be somewhere in my life that's pretty cool too. To be meeting.
Attracting.
Yes.
Like that vibe, that energy, those people.
Totally.
Yes.
And you were just telling me before we were recording that you're from Michigan.
Yeah.
Why did I think you were from New Jersey?
People think I'm from like the East Coast. I get like Jersey, I get New York, I get all of that. Like, people think I'm Italian. I think it's the hands. I do a lot of hand gestures. I'm loud.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I hear what they hear in this accent and just like, oh, she must be from the East Coast.
And people always say like, oh, like, where are you from? Like, what is this? And I don't know. Like, even when I lived in Michigan, people would ask me where I'm from. I'm like, what? Here? What am I saying? Like, what do you mean?
Would they look at you and go, liar?
Yeah, I'm like born, raised, residing, you know.
That's so funny.
But yeah.
I love it. I just love it. I love how you speak.
Thank you.
I truly do. It's such a bright light on Instagram too. And that's one of the things I love. You like take us through your day, and it really feels like just like a nice little break from whatever I have going on. It's just like, oh, I can pop into Queen Jessica's world.
What are you doing today?
Yes. What made you call yourself Queen?
So, kind of just empowerment in a way type of a thing, I guess. Everyone would always, because I got it when I was littler, like, or smaller, littler, younger was when I kind of like started it more like grade school, like high school kind of.
Wow.
And it would start with people would be like, oh, like princess, like, people always want to call like a little girl like, oh, you're a princess. And I was just like, I'm in charge. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a princess. Like, I'm not to be rescued. You know what I mean? Like, I can handle it. Like, I can do it myself. I'm capable. So to me, I was always like, no, queen. Now, like, thinking back, king probably makes more sense, because everyone always thinks that, like, and Parliament was like, what was that? In, like, Uptown Girls, that movie where she's like, Parliament holds all the real power in monarchy. But that's where I get queen from, was just, I wasn't princess. Princess didn't feel right to me. So I was like queen and then Jessica.
Wow, that's like very similar to me too. It was just this, I get what you see and who you think I am, but that isn't who I am. That's really amazing, and especially so young for you to feel that way.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, I was grade school, high school, I would say, probably
so cool.
Like coming all up in that, and then it was just always that way, and I was always just very stern, I guess, in the way that I speak, assertive, I guess.
Yes, so. I love that.
Which can people take not always the best. I'm like, I'm not being mean.
That's what I was going to say. I just heard this quote, and it was something like, you have to get over the discomfort of being assertive. And that's something I realized, like, wow, that is it. Just from what I've learned doing the podcast, how I have to be assertive. Assertive is important, and saying what you mean is important. And it's hard. And I think a lot of, like, in our culture, and especially if you're, like, a little girl, you're not really taught to be assertive.
Right.
at all. And
Yeah.
people respond probably with just different, like, wow, oh, who do you think you are?
Right, like, okay.
Right? Like, were you always assertive?
Yeah, I think so, kind of. And you know what, everyone has their days where maybe you're kind of not so much, I'm not so sure in myself.
Totally.
But I don't know, I think it was just everywhere I was around. Like, I came up in a loud family. Like, so if you want to be heard, you got to get louder, you know? Like, everyone's talking crossfire conversations, and I'm in the middle of two boys. So I have, older brother, younger brother. So I feel like that's another reason why maybe I'm a little more rougher, louder, you know what I mean? Rambunctious type of energy coming up with, like, my brothers and everything. So, yeah, just, like, a big family, I feel like. Because my mom is one of 6 in her family, and they've all got kids. And we would all live together in Michigan, so everyone's always close by. So it's always a lot happening. So I feel like, yeah, if I wanted to be heard, I had to say it, say it louder, to stand out of the crowd of the whole bunch, I guess.
Totally. That's amazing. For me, it was kind of the opposite. If I wanted to be like loved or taken care of, it was more like, I got to be quiet. Like, don't say anything right now.
Don't upset the situation anymore.
Right, totally. And then, so you grew up in Michigan?
Yeah, grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was there for like 20-some year, 20-some. I moved, 2017 was when I moved to Denver.
Oh.
And otherwise, I had always been in Michigan. Like,
wow.
And everyone in my family, too.
A long line of Michiganders.
Michiganders, yeah.
Do you ever get used to the snow?
You get used to it, but like it got to be just so gloomy all the time. Like when I moved out of Michigan, when I moved to Denver in 2017, I was like, oh my God, I've never seen the sun in the month of February before.
Wow.
Like, it's just, you would maybe get those days, but otherwise it would be like 6 months of just like this like gray sky. You know, when it gets like really windy here and there's like this nothing sky. You're like, I don't know what's happening.
It looks like fog
Yeah,
almost.
it's like fog, but it's like this weird, that's why I feel like the sky would just be like all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then it gets to that state where it's like not really, and sometimes it looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong. There are some days where it's just like glittery and you're like, oh my God, I'm in like a little snow globe right now. It's just glistening all around me. Right. Winter wonderland.
Yes.
But then
so pure.
Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then it's like cold and it's like sludgy when you like get out of your car and you step in that like wet snow. And I'm like, I never got used to that. I didn't like that. But the prettiness.
Totally. Totally. Wow. That's like a big shock then to move. I mean, it's not such a big shock to move to Denver.
Yeah.
But then here.
Denver definitely was like that
little bridge.
Easement into like Vegas. Because otherwise from Vegas to Michigan would have been shocking. But Denver kind of is like that happy medium because it's it's sunny like all the time, but you still get snow, but you still get that like nice weather, and it can still get really hot. So it kind of eased me into like, okay, no more snow. It's hot.
I loved it. I was, like I told you before, I was born in Denver but raised here in Vegas, and we'd go back to Denver and visit my family. And my memory when I was like, I don't know, 10 or so, it felt like anytime I was in Denver, every time at 3 p.m. it would get cloudy and a little rain would happen and then it would stop. Like that was my memory of.
You're like 3 p.m.
And I'm like, I love it here. Like I loved that. And I love that feeling in Denver. I don't know, and maybe it's because I never have lived there, so it's like a vacation feeling,
right?
You know, but with you living there, like that just seems like such a cool place to experience for a little bit.
Yeah, it was cool, and I feel bad. I feel like I didn't really give Denver like as much of like a real chance because everyone's always talks about like all the 14ers and like the skiing and the climbing and the hiking, and I never really kind of like got into all of that there. So that's why like when we moved to Vegas, I was like, this is almost more my speed because like I'll like go to like a show or something every now and then. Like I've been seeing like all like the different shows. I saw like Gwen Stefani. Just saw Billie Eilish the other day.
Where?
T-Mobile.
Oh, I didn't even know she was here.
Yeah.
How fun was that?
It was awesome, but like a lot of screaming fans.
Was it just the whole time?
Yeah, for like a lot of it. And I was like, okay, you guys,
can I hear this song?
Right? Like Billie has a soft voice. Like it's really hard to hear her right now. And it was funny because I had gone and seen like Paul McCartney there before, like year ago or so. And Paul McCartney and a Billie Eilish experience are completely different concert experiences with the fan base. I could hear Paul the whole time. I could like occasionally hear Billie. Yes. But it was still awesome, and it was still super cool, and it's just very Vegas-y and very cool seeing all that stuff. So it's exciting that things have been opening up, that you can go and do things. Because when we moved here, it was March, April 2020. So
wow.
Yeah.
You moved here right then.
Right when it happened. And like we had been planning to move here. And so then it happened and everyone was like, so are you guys like still going? And I'm like, yeah, like I have a lease, like I'm moving jobs, like I can't not go. So it was just hard to like go anywhere, meet anyone, or like do anything, because like that whole first initial everything was just like, that was it. That was kind of how I dove into plants so hard.
Really? That's what I was going to ask. If in Michigan, were you a plant woman?
Yes and no. Like, I would maybe, like, I had, like, you know, one. I would see something at the grocery store, and then it would be, like, alive for a week. And, you know, and then I'd see something again I liked a few months later and, like, try again. But it was really when I was in Denver that I kind of started to really, like, commit to the whole plant thing. And it was when I was, like, working at Home Depot at the customer service
desk. I can picture you now.
Oh, yeah.
Do you still have your Home Depot outfit?
I still have my apron, yeah.
Because I love that. That's one of my favorite things about jobs, is keeping the memorabilia.
Right? I have it. And then there's like different like T-shirts and stuff. And they actually like signed, everyone that I worked with like signed like a message on like an apron. So like they had it in like the break room, and everyone like signed a message when I left. So like I have like my apron with like all my messages. And like I actually was cleaning out my office craft room studio area, and I like found it, and I was like reading all my messages. I was like, oh,
that is sweet.
Yeah, it was so nice.
I should have done that with my Starbucks apron 10 years ago. Or any apron I've had. That's a very smart idea.
Yeah. Next time.
Next time, hopefully. There's no next time, but there probably will be a next time. So
you should get like something here, like a King Pollys t-shirt that we can all like write a message on.
That is
like,
such a good idea. Like an autograph book.
Yeah.
Genius. Thank you for that idea.
You're all welcome.
I love it. Yes. You're all welcome. And then, so you started diving into plants.
Yeah, because I was at
the
customer service desk at Home Depot in Denver, and I was staring at the plants like every day. And I was just like slowly just coming home with like more and more plants. And we had like a little slider that would get like a little bit of south facing sun. So all of my plants were like clustered in front of like this window. And some made it, some didn't. But that was really when I was like, okay, I like this. And then we moved here, and I was like, oh, look at all the sun. Look at all the plants that I can grow with all the sun. Because that's what I was struggling with at the other place. Was like, I don't have enough sun. I'm fighting to get the sun to keep these babies alive. And of course, I could have gotten grow lights, but I wasn't that into it all then.
Right.
You know.
Totally.
These things.
And
grow.
Do grow lights? They're real. They work.
Yes.
Like that's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
Okay. Because I have one, and I guess there's part of me, and maybe it's the Vegas native in me, but I'm like, there's nothing like real sun.
Which is true.
But
if that's an option.
But see, and because during the winter here, I only have like 2 windows, like 2 sides. And so my pothos, which if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen my pothos.
Incredible.
Pothos baby. I love her so much. But I was afraid she wasn't getting enough sun. So I did get a little halo light. And I was curious if it actually worked. So that's good to hear from you.
Yeah.
It does. Okay.
No, they really do. I actually have, because I was telling you earlier, I got those plants like on my ledge, and they get like a lot of just very indirect lighting, and I could tell that they like weren't doing so hot. They're getting a little leggy. I could tell they would long stem before I'd get like another leaf, or they were staying like really wet for like a really long time. So I'm like, you're not really getting enough light, I feel like. So I found these little strips and I like stuck them up, and even after just a week, I've seen a difference in them. I had like a little mushroom growing in one. I was like, look at you. You're happy.
Yeah.
Happy soil.
I'm just going to eat this.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Snap.
See, everybody listening, if you don't have the light, it's okay.
It's okay.
You can plug one in.
Plug one in.
Wow.
And just like, I got all kinds of, and I've even done it where I had like my light bulb above like a plant. Like I just changed it out for a grow light.
That's genius.
I was just like, oh,
that is genius.
That way I'm like, I don't have to go buy more things and more plugs.
Totally.
Like if it's a light that can work, I'm just going to light bulb it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. What I have found just with me and my little plant journey, which it's like how you said, at first you started, you'd buy one, it would die. And growing up, I was very against plants, I think, because my mom had so many of them.
You're like, I can't.
And I was just like, why? What's the point? Like, I don't understand the point of this. And I really didn't. But I was also just, a little girl.
Right.
And
I got other things I care about.
Right. And I think I was so sensitive that I was protecting a part of me that really just feared killing something, which I think a lot of people
and like
do.
That fear of failure-ish type of thing. You're like, well, I know what can happen, and I don't want to go down that road.
Totally.
So.
And that's, and that sticks with us. And a lot of people have that feeling of like, no, I just kill them. No, I just kill them, right? And, well, death isn't the worst thing in the world. It's a part of life, and it's okay.
And a lot of times, too, with plants, life will come out of death sometimes, depending if you compost and you do all those kinds of things.
Totally.
It's enrichment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And finally one day when I was ready and kind of rooted in my life and transitioned from this sort of manic, crazy maiden to like a more rooted mother place where it was like, you know what? Yeah, let's try this plant thing again. And
I get it.
The pothos, which I guess is a really great plant.
I love pothos. Ugh, the best. Everyone should have one. They're easy. Well, I mean, I don't want to say they're easy in that, like, if you kill it, you're a failure, because it happens and you learn. But they're a good plant.
A good starter,
right?
Plant. Yes.
For sure.
And before I knew it, she was growing and growing. And once she started really growing, I started to overthink myself. Like, okay, wait, did I water her? Like, I need to,
Yeah.
And so it's a good practice in, as you know, just life. But I find just watering her once a week.
Regular watering.
I used to overwater.
Yeah. The regular watering, it makes such a difference. And I say that all the time on my Instagram because I'm the worst with it. Like, I'm like, I haven't watered anybody in like 2 weeks.
No way are you the worst at it. You have so many beautiful living,
happy. Yes.
But I hear you. You have so many.
So many. And sometimes they're like not all the easiest to water. Like, people will move their plants like into like a tub and they'll do like a big bulk watering, and then it's like, all right, everyone's good, and they drain out because you want to give everyone like a soak. You don't want to do like a little shallow water. It's like, that's another thing you're going to notice. Everyone's kind of struggling if you're not really getting a little, you want to give them a good drink. Because otherwise, like, you only get slightly quenched.
That's something I didn't know either about
like,
it.
good.
That it's so, like, that's good to drench them when you water.
Right. And then just, because that's not, people think like over watering that's what it is. You're giving it like too much water. But it's like you can give it a bunch of water at one time, but just don't do that again the next day and then the next day. Wait some more time for it to dry out. And then once it's a little drier, give it another nice deep drink again. And that's what you got to do. But sometimes it's just a lot of work because, like you said, you got to give it a good deep drink. And the water's got to go somewhere, and I don't want to haul everybody over to a bathtub. So usually I'm just pouring them where they sit, and then I'm getting water everywhere, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a whole thing.
The reality of it.
Yeah.
I'm glad there's some reality.
Oh, yeah.
Because
There's like
it
dirt everywhere.
looks so, like, like just pristine in this garden. And I, and it's funny that when we see something, we don't see all of the work behind it.
Yeah. There's a lot of work.
Like it's every day. Do you have like a mental like note of, or do you actually have physical notes, or like you just know like intuitively by the plant?
All the above. I've like tried to do it where it's like, hey, every day, like on Monday it's like this, and on Fridays I water, like it was like Fridays I water my fiddle leaf figs, fiddle leaf Friday, and I could like remember it. But then I would go and I would look at my plant on Friday and I would like touch it, and I'm like,
you don't need water.
I'm not really ready for some water yet. And just because it's Friday, I can't water you. Like, it's Friday, you get water on Friday. Like, I can't do that.
No matter what.
Yeah, it's like, no, today's your water day, and that's it. So then it becomes like an intuitive thing of like, feeling the plant, checking it out, and then I'm like, okay, then I got to wait a couple days. So it kind of goes back and forth. And then I start to forget, and I'm like, when was last time I watered that one? Like, was that yesterday or was that last week's yesterday? Like,
yes,
because there are so many.
Totally, I get that with just 3 plants.
Yeah,
like literally with 3 plants, I have that of, wait, that was last Thursday, and I did the same thing of trying. Okay, on this day. And I even got one of those plant watering apps, right?
Right.
Which worked for literally like a couple weeks, and then it was like, this schedule isn't real.
Yeah, well, half the time those like apps where it helps you keep track of something, it only works if you work it. Like, you still have to input the information for it to remember to remind you. Otherwise, it doesn't have anything to go off of. And I'm like, oh, that's just another step that I need to remember to do now. And then I'm like, too many things for me to remember.
Totally. Like, it really is just kind of back to that sort of simple, intuitive, like trusting yourself. It's really good practice in trusting.
Yeah.
I've found
it. And like, the song that's like, listen to your heart.
Of course.
Listen
to your heart. It's stuck in my head every day.
I spun it. Listen to your plants when they're calling for you.
You have to sing the whole thing now. We'll wait.
Know where you're going.
Well, you know more words than I do. I just know listen to your heart. But I love that, listen to your plants.
Yes, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
They'll tell you. Because if you Google and you're like, what's wrong with my plant? And it's like, you're overwatering, you're underwatering, it's too much sun, it's too little sun. And you're like,
That is sort of my issue, and what I've recognized with Google and this era of being able to have an answer right away. And we're kind of this generation in the middle, like the bridge between the old way and the new way, which is cool, because it's like we remember things that now this new generation doesn't even know.
Right.
So I don't Google as often. Because I do want to listen to my heart and the plants, and Google sometimes will spin me out into this whole other.
Yeah. It's like you go into some and like, then you're on something else. Like, how did I even end up here? And I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Before you know it, I've thrown all my plants out. Right. And I'm crying on the ground.
Yeah. And you're like, oh my God,
they're dying anyways. They're all going to die. They're dying anyways.
Yeah. But it's just listen to them and then making sense of it, because you're like, okay, if it's overwatering's a thing, okay, when was the last time that I watered it? Not recently. Okay, so scratch that as your reasoning for that thing. But yeah, listen to your plants.
And it's mostly like sun, water, and soil.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, I guess my next question too is with soil.
Mm-hmm. Everyone has their opinions about soil. They're like, don't use Miracle Grow, or like, or you've got to make your own, or you can't do this, you can't do that. I've graduated up, I guess I would say, because when I first started, I was just using like regular potting mix. Like, I wasn't doing anything extra to it. As I've like gone, I've started to like get different soil amendments, we call them, like horticultural, I can't ever say it, charcoal and like orchid bark, or you get like the perlite, different things for like aeration and things like that in the soil. So I've like started to add all that, but really it's just don't overcomplicate it. You know, some of that I'm just like, I feel like I've overcomplicated it with all of that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And it's become this whole thing. And then, you know, I'll have my plant and I'm watering it, and then I'll repot it in my fancy soil, and then my watering needs change. And I'm not, and I'm like, oh, I need to remember I've added more aeration to it. So where I was watering it less before, probably going to need to start watering it more now. And that's something that I feel like I always need to remind myself, and other people should remember too, is like, after you've done a repotting, your watering needs might change.
Yes, that is good to know.
Because, like, I've done it, and I'm like, why is this one, like, thirsty all the time now?
What's your deal?
Like, what did you do? I'm like, oh, my God, yeah, I forgot. I, like, did all that extra stuff to you.
Totally. I've put a few, like, eggshells in, but nothing consistent other than just the regular stuff. I thought about every day for lunch I have boiled purple cabbage, which is funny to say out loud. I don't know why.
What?
I'm like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
The purple cabbage.
Like Uncle Joe and the cabbage stew. I know what their house smelled like, and it wasn't good. So they have purple water at the bottom, and I was like, oh, that would be like a nice little drink. But then I'm like, pesticides. Right, and whatever, but I'm eating it.
Right, you're eating, and it's boiled.
And it's boiled.
So I think it should be fine.
But, so, I thought I'd bring that up.
I'm not going to, I don't have enough to tell you on that one. I wish I knew more. Because, like, I've done with, like, the coffee grounds.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've added, like, coffee grounds and stuff to my soil before. But I don't know if I've, like, noticed a huge difference on a plant that I've used coffee grounds on it other than, like, my other ones. You know, there's nothing better than just, like, the appropriate amount of lighting and, like, appropriate amount of watering.
Yes.
And just do it.
Do you cut off your yellow leaves?
Yes. Rip those babies right off.
Okay. See, I need to...
I'm like, that's not coming back.
Oh, yes. See, I'm very, too, I've noticed...
Sometimes I rip off a good one.
I just...
I'm like, oh, shit.
Yes.
No.
That's I very much just like let them go, and I know some people are like, oh, you got to prune like the money tree, right? Like, and I don't, like, I just let it go.
It does depend. I mean, the way that they say like you want to take it off is because it's kind of like dying, and it's still putting out like that energy to that leaf, and it's like kind of trying to like maybe save itself, but it's like not really going to cover. So it's saying like, it's kind of like an infected, just cut it off type of a thing. So it's like you don't want the plant putting energy towards that. You want it to put energy towards new life, new growth. Just like with like flowers, you want to like, you know, deadhead blooms once they're spent. That's why I'm like I'm getting out in the garden now. I've been planting all outside. But you want to deadhead the blooms because then it knows to put out more blooms instead of focusing to like put out seeds or something.
Totally.
Like that. So, yeah.
What are you putting in your garden?
Oh my God. Well, I'm not like garden, but just like around my yard, I've been planting a lot of flowers. I've got like petunias and salvia and like these like blooming aloe plants. I'm trying to turn my backyard into like a little hummingbird mecca.
I love
sanctuary.
it. I feel like it's working.
It is. I see them like all the time. It's
That's
great.
Our old house. I had my hummingbird feeder, and I loved it. And there was Humphrey. We called him Humphrey the hummingbird. But he was a real bully. He didn't let any other hummingbirds eat the food. And I was like, I don't know if I should perpetuate this behavior. But okay, Humphrey, while you're here, I'm feeding you.
Yeah.
So I haven't started feeding them here at this house just because it's something I have to keep up on. Yeah. And like, I don't want to start it and not be able to do it. And even though it seems like a small task, consistency, like it's just like I don't want to just, hey, hummingbirds, bye.
Right, like here's a snack, just kidding. It's not here anymore.
But my dream would be to have a backyard, a front yard, and be able to plant things for hummingbirds, for butterflies, for bees.
Yes,
that's the dream.
That's what I'm trying to do. It's not, I don't even like own this house, it's a rental, but that's why I'm doing everything like potted things. So you're coming with me if I'm going.
Yes. What part of Vegas do you live in?
The Southwest, right on the edge of like Summerlin,
Oh yeah.
right by like that's the Star on Tropicana.
The
It's like
Star.
a Star Nursery.
Oh, Star Nurse. Oh,
Oh yeah,
I
trouble.
love that. I love that area. I love Tropicana. I don't know why I love Tropicana. Well, I think because Vegas. I just love
It's like
Tropicana.
Tropicana.
Did you, when you moved here from Denver, is that the house you moved into?
Yes. Still the same one that we've been in the whole time.
Nice.
We should have bought when we moved here. Oh my gosh. Never gonna happen now.
Wasn't
It is
meant
what
to
it
be.
is. Yeah, it wasn't meant to be.
I know.
Which is great because the house that we have now has this like amazing sunroom.
It is. I've seen it. Like, it's a gorgeous
I'm
house.
so lucky.
It's such a cool little gem.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I mean, we're really lucky. It's a great spot, and the property manager and everyone's like really nice. And yeah, so it's awesome. And I've just been turning it into my little sanctuary.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it so much.
Ooh.
That's one of the things with flowers for me. I was always like, wait, you have to plant them every.
Yeah.
There's
That's-
none that stay. Like they all
There
die.
are and there aren't. There are some, and that's so that's what I've been like learning too. This is probably like my first year really more so doing anything like outside. So then I was like, oh yeah, look at these flowers. These are pretty, and this one and this one. And then I was like, things for hummingbirds. Like they like the flowers that are like tubular. So I'm like picking all this stuff out, and then I'm like getting home and I'm like trying to research it, and I'm like, I'm doing this backwards now. And then I'm like realizing that I have all stuff that like blooms in like the summer and like nothing that will like bloom in the fall. So then I had to start finding things that would like bloom in the fall. And then there's like perennials versus annuals. And I was like, wait, so are annuals the one that come back annually or the ones that you need to plant annually? I still don't know.
Yes. My mind.
I'm like, why can't I remember?
I
it?
can't remember. Like every time I've looked into it, I'm like, is there something wrong with me?
Yeah.
Because it is not sticking.
Like Googled it like every single time, and I'm like, I still can't remember.
Right?
It.
I'm
like,
glad I'm not alone.
like I don't know what it is. Can't remember. So yeah, I feel like I planted a lot of things that are gonna just be gone. But we'll see. Hopefully, I have enough blooms that they say that sometimes they can like reseed themselves. So fingers crossed, because I spent a lot of money on everything, and then I like looked around and I was like, shoot, this is all gonna be gone in like a couple months.
Yes. And it really is too like a lesson in not being attached to the outcome. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like this is part of the process. I'm having fun planting and learning and doing this, and I'm going to try not to be so attached to this outcome of, wow, it's all gone now.
Yeah.
Because that can prevent us from even starting.
Oh my God. With a lot of stuff in plants and creative ventures, like everything.
Yes, 100.
Ugh.
And that's something I didn't know, that you have an Etsy shop.
Yeah, that is a thing that I've had it, and that I've like launched it forever ago, back in 2017 when I was in Denver. And it's kind of taken like a back seat as everything's gone on, and I've kind of like changed my gears and my interests, and I've wanted to like evolve it along with that. But then it was like, do I know enough about the things that I want to evolve it to sell those things to other people? Like,
Totally.
you know, who am I to be in a position to tell somebody, not that I'm like telling you to spend your money on this, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
totally.
to say, oh, you should just spend your money on this thing that I made, or like maybe it's not even something that I made, because that was another thing with my Etsy. I wanted to make all kinds of things. I love crafting, creating, all the stuff,
Yes.
everything, all the time. And that's why I get creative ADD. So I like make one thing, and then I'm like making the next thing, or I don't even finish that, and
I
I
relate
start
to that,
making
yes.
something else. So that was like, I'd get stuck in these creative ruts where I was like, well, it's not perfected enough for me to be able to like present it to other people.
Totally.
You know?
It's like that. The inner critic comes in, the imposter syndrome, like, I'm not yet an expert, so what right do I have, right? And I think it shows a humbleness and a truth, you know, that the creatives, I think, share.
Yeah.
Because we're heart focused versus the capitalistic money focused, and we often doubt ourselves, and because we actually really do care and think about, like, I know how hard it is to make money. I know, you know, when you spend money on something, like, that's a sacred thing, that, and if I'm giving, like, providing a service or a product, I want it to be
good.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, I've gotten things and I've been disappointed. So it's like, I don't want to supply somebody that disappointment.
Totally.
You know? And it's like, so I've got things that I would do that I've created, and I'm like, okay, like, I feel like it's good. And then it was, well, I want to do other things, but I can't make all of these things. So then it's like, all right, well, I want to have these other options available to people. And then it's like, how do I find this? And then getting that product that's like quality and trusted. And then it's like, well, is it still good if it's not coming, like, it's coming from me, but it's not coming from me? And so then I felt this like struggle of like this, because I've been wanting to like relaunch and rebrand, and I'm like, but now am I getting like distant from like what my goal was of that? It was like, oh, I'm making stuff, you know?
Totally.
So I'm like, and then I'm like, well, what are other people going to think, that I'm selling them something that, because I'm like, oh, I want to do like tarot. Like, I really think tarot and all that is so cool. I'm like, I've been learning it. It's super hard to learn. I don't know a lot about it, but I like want, like, I found like all these different cool tarot decks. I'm like, oh, I want to like sell people like that stuff. Like, it's all such a cool world that I want to just expand with other people, you know? But I'm like, well, I don't know enough about tarot, so how can I like sell other people a tarot deck? And it's not like I designed it, so it's not, you know what I mean?
Totally.
And I get in this whole thing where I'm like, well, what are other people going to think? And then I'm like, well, nothing's happened. We're a year later of me going back and forth, of debating and being afraid of if this, then that, and now I'm like, I have nothing to show. You know?
I relate to that so much. I think that is a part of it, and it's interesting. I've found, because I've had those same struggles and those just. And even with starting kingpollys.com, right, it does feel like I knew I just had to start. It wasn't what I imagined for the future, but the only way I'd get to what I imagined is by starting now.
Yeah.
And giving myself some leniency and recognizing my desire for perfection is just going to stop me all the time. And of course, my dream would be to actually make this mug, you know, from a small batch creator in Vegas.
Right.
However, that isn't what is possible for me right now. So I'll keep that as my North Star. Stay with the core of what I want to share and give, which I'm grateful enough to now know what I'm here to give and how I'm here to serve. But it doesn't stop, you know, the outside judgment and the fear and the process.
Yeah, and there's so much that goes into it too when it's you that's doing it, because you know you do all the things yourself, you know. So it's like, oh, you've got to coming up with the idea. First of all, is a lot. You know, people will see things that somebody else has done, and they're like, well, I could do that. And it's like, sure, now that you've seen the idea for it, like, I'm sure you think that you could do it. But to come up with, like, an original idea is, like, a lot. And then, you know, to actually make it, and then you've got to, like, take a picture of it or, like, the video of it, you know, to put it out there, actually. Because what is it just there if it's not being seen, you know? So you got to put it out there for people to like see, and then
put words to it. Figure out what in the world.
The words. Oh my god.
I don't know if people realize how much energy and time and
the caption.
Yes. Descriptions and it's like, wow, this is a whole other job I didn't even realize was part of this.
And then you like read it back and you're like, oh my god, that sounds stupid. Like, what am I even saying? Yeah. Like, that, what's happening? And then you're just going to be like, it's cool. Yeah. You know what I mean?
This is cool.
Yeah. Just trust me, it's cool. Like,
Pictured. Cool product.
Right? Picture, cool product, gold mug.
Yes.
Yes.
It's gnarly. It really is. I'm glad I'm not alone.
Yeah, I'm like, what do I even say? And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, and then am I doing too much?
Right.
It's like finding that like balance of like, what am I doing for me? What am I doing for others? How do I value what other people care and think without it restricting me? And it's like, because you don't want to not care what people think. Like, you care, but not in a way where it's like debilitating. And it's like finding that like balance is hard.
It's really hard. And then there's this quote, or I don't know, something, but it talks about if I were to believe like the praise others give me, then I would also have to believe the criticism. And this element of, for me, what I found is I am being of service to the other when I am fully giving what is in me to give. And that's where it stops. Like, I'm actually not responsible past that point.
Right.
Of how it's received. If it's received well, it actually, at that point, it is released. And hey, if you have an issue with it, cool, awesome, totally. But it's actually not. It's actually not.
Your issue, not my issue.
Right. And it's a very hard, weird bridge to sort of cross and like to wrap your head around. But it is interesting that the opinions of others really does, it is kind of this last sword that you sort of have to wield and take and like, okay, I'm done with that.
Right? Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna take this for what it is.
Right.
And that's what it is.
Right. And like, once you're in touch with that, just your core center, it's a lot easier than to move through the noise. Yeah. Because it's a lot of noise.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's all easier said than done.
Totally.
And some days are easier than others. You know, some days it's like, psh, I'm gonna do me.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
I'm queen.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh.
And then and then it's like, ooh. Next day you're like, oh my God, I don't trust anything that I'm doing. Like, what is this? Why did I? And then you look back at maybe the thing that you did the other day, and you're like, oh my God, why did I do that?
Totally. And being able to ride that, and then pretty soon, I know for me, like, the lows get less low. Like, I had followed those voices down into the pit so many times that now I know where they lead. Yeah. So I'm not going to follow them. You know, like, it's like, I know what you're trying to sell me. Like, I suck, or this won't work, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm good.
Right? Ugh.
But it takes work.
And it's so hard to like not get like in your head about it. And like, I've done it. And especially too when you start to maybe get like more of like a platform or like a following, you're almost like, oh, like I need to start like doing things a certain way now.
Totally.
You know? And then like, oh, I need to do this because I have that. You know, and then you get like stuck in this thing and you're like, no, the whole reason that any of these people even showed up in the first place is because it was all happening organically. And I was just being me. And the videos that I get like the most reactions or just like engagement from are the ones that are just like willy-nilly, you know, like it just happened. And it was just like, oh my gosh, being a doofus.
Yes,
you know?
Like it is. Like that stuff is the gold.
And everyone's like, oh my, and I'm like, oh, that's what's hitting with everyone right now? Like, okay. And then like I'll watch back like old videos and I'm like, I just need to relax. Like I am... You know, I'm like, this is the good stuff.
Totally. Like, that's it. Relax. Yeah. Like, it really is. Like, in this new season of my life, too, just honing in on that and honoring it. And, like, when I'm in my rush phase, like, I'm not anchored. And nothing is really going to work out. Right. But if I remember that I have the opportunity... I know. Luna, you're snoring. Did you start your Instagram then in 2020 when you moved here?
No, so my Instagram is like my like OG Instagram. Like I've got posts like archived from like high school. Like it's like my original like and that was the thing like when everyone was doing like planty things like, oh, like you should start like a planty page, because I was like very plant focused for a while, like when everything was going on. And then I was like, well, I feel like I do other things other than just plants. Like I want to be able to post about other stuff too.
Totally.
And then once I told myself I'm going to open up to like more plant things other than just plants, I like stopped posting because I was like, well, now I don't know what to post.
Yes, I relate to that. And being able to be unboxable.
Yeah.
Like that it is.
I was like, wait, I boxed myself and then I unboxed myself and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Well, now you're a Jack in the Box. You're out, so you can have some fun.
Right.
It's okay. You're out of the box now.
We're good.
It takes a minute to get used to it.
Yeah. And I was like, I post. And then I'm like, what the heck? Before I even post about any plant stuff, I just posted whatever I wanted anyways. And it was like all of a sudden, now that I felt like there was like more people watching, I like couldn't post whatever I wanted anymore. And then I was like, this is my page.
I've had those feelings too. It is weird. Like
Yeah.
I noticed like, oh, that's how it happens. Like with more power comes more responsibility.
Yes.
And it is like, it is interesting just how much we get in our heads. And versus like in the present moment of, okay, this is happening. This is my real life. I'm going to document this and I'm just going to share it. And I'm going to release my attachment to the outcome. And when the voices come in, what are you doing? I'm literally like, this is what I'm doing. And soon enough, you start to be able to just keep moving that direction.
Right. And it's like, I can do my, like the stories like every day. Like that part's easy, but it's like the permanence.
Totally.
Of, that I'm like, what is it that I need?
What is important? What do I need to say right now?
Right here. Forever. Well, not forever, but
and
like.
is it worth it? Yeah. I think that way too. Like, is this worthy of eternity?
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes.
And it's like, I know I can like delete it, but it's like the internet. So it's like, technically it does kind of like live forever.
That's what this new generation, like I'm trying to like make it known, especially just so many of these, like I see young girls on TikTok and I just like, this is forever. I know
forever.
I know you feel this way now, or
Yeah.
you want to share this and too, like this, it's.
Yeah. And I was like, because I know like the way that I like thought and felt and things that I thought that I knew when I was that age. And I was like, honey, sis, no.
That's what I say. I'm like, I am so grateful that MySpace is gone. You cannot see anything I did.
Right.
Anything I thought.
Like MySpace, I had like a Zanga and I was
I don't even know Zanga.
Oh my God. Zanga, it's like XANGA or whatever. It was like, I think it was before MySpace or at the same time. So I don't know. It was basically like a website blog. It was similar to MySpace, but like more bloggy. I never did like Tumblr. I feel like Tumblr was like pictures, but this was like words. Like it was like online diary.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, so I don't even know what. And like, you know, I'm just spewing. You know, I don't even know what lives on there. And this was like back like too when there was like AIM, Instant Messenger.
Yes.
Love it.
Oh, I love Instant Messenger.
Yeah, so like I feel like I would like repost like my AIM conversations on there. Like what?
I love that sound. The door opening and closing. Like, who's here? Somebody's
Yeah.
like, is it my crush? Is it the boy in my dreams?
Crush. And like they'd immediately log off. Like, oh, no. But
I'm here. You would see.
You like just put up an away message and like heard the door and go look.
Wow, that's gnarly. That was the beginning. That really was the beginning.
Those are the good old, like
things.
these kids now, like they don't even know. That is gold. That's
really
the good stuff.
I'm grateful we experienced that. Like it was such a fun time. Like it was to even get on the internet. There was a ritual. You know, I have to dial up. I might get kicked off. Like how long do I have?
Right? You had to battle with like your siblings, or if it was the phone line. So it was like you can't be on, like
exactly.
You need the calls, like
Yep.
you're tying up the phone line. Like
ours went through. We had a fax line, so it was like I'm waiting for a fax. You need to get offline.
You're like, oh, like he always gets on at 6:00 though. Like,
oh, I love that. I love that.
so good.
And your Queen Jesika, Jessika.
Jesika.
Okay.
One S.
Okay, one S. So you guys can join in the shenanigans.
Yes.
And your wonderful stories all day. You'll get to see the plants in real life.
All the plants, indoor, outdoor.
It's so amazing. It really is. It's.
Thank you.
And I love, because I feel like, honestly, like, most people want to care for something, and are just scared.
Yeah.
And I feel like you help remind us, that it is possible. You can do it, and that it doesn't, like, you're not just this plant lady. You know what I mean? Like, you're this full, lively human that that is able to share just one facet of, like, oh, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool. And like you were talking about with tarot, because I love tarot too, and it's never ending. So there's no, like, expert. It's never ending, and I really see it as a form of oracle. And there's no wrong or right way.
I love oracle cards too. I've got all kinds of different little oracle decks that I'll, like, whip out. I just think all that stuff is so.
Me too. Well, honestly, I feel like I owe my marriage in some ways to a tarot card. But not fully. Okay, people, don't take it too seriously. But because the day before my date with my husband, we met on Match.com.
Yeah.
I was freaking out. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm insane. Like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
I was freaking out. And so I pulled a card. And it gave me such peace of mind. And it was basically saying, like, if you don't pull your head out of your ass, like, you're going to miss it. You could be sitting right across from your soulmate, not even know it.
Getting, like, little tingles.
That's what, and so I was like, wow, okay, I know I pulled this for a reason. Thank you, God. Like, thank you. And so the next day when I showed up, in the first 5 minutes of meeting him, I did want to leave.
Yeah.
Like, I was fully in my ego. Like, my ego knew that it was meeting its match and it would die. So, like, because it was like, get up, leave, go.
Like, no, don't do it.
And I was like, no, the card. Like, I'm not listening to you.
Like, you gotta fight through
and
it.
I had decided I was going to do everything different than how I normally did. Like, because my life had led me to some crazy places. I was like, this isn't working. I'm going the opposite way now. And thank God, because I got through those first 5 minutes and I was like, oh man, you're it. Like, you're it. And I would have totally left.
Yeah.
And just.
That'd have been it. Who knows?
Oof, it'd be rough where I'd be now. Let me just tell you. When I met my husband, I would basically just fall asleep eating vegan pizza and donuts every night in bed. Just there'll be vegan pizza in my mouth.
Like, it's good.
Huh?
Wake up. What day is it?
Yeah, totally.
I'm late for school. Like.
So things, it's amazing what life does. Like, it really does deliver us where we need to be. And
right. It's fate would have it.
Yeah. How long have you been with your boyfriend?
We've been together for like 5 years. We're going on like our 5th year, I think. Yeah. Which is crazy. Because, like, he had his sights set on me, and I was like, you're cool. Like, we met at the bar that we, like, both worked at in Denver. It was like a pool hall. I, like, started working at, like, a pool hall.
How cool. What was it called?
Felt.
Which
everybody always would come up with jokes about, felt up. I'm like, oh my God. Like, but it's like, no, pool felt.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I'm like,
I get to fill you up.
Right.
No, that's not
like,
what it
have you been felt? And it's like, oh my God. But no, we met there, and we would always, like, hang out and always talk. And, like, I'd get off and I'd always just, like, hang out with him, just, like, hang out at the bar. And I kind of felt like he maybe had a crush on me, but I was just, like, friend zoned him, basically, And he never really, like, explicitly, like, would say that, like, he had a crush on me or anything like that. But you just kind of, like, know.
You feel it.
Like, he would, like, do, like, little flirty things because, like, we used to, like, smoke. Oh my God, just chain smoking, working back at the bar and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, like, can I bum a cig? And I was like, bum cigs from, like, I knew he'd give me a cig. And then, like, if he'd go to, like, hand me the lighter, he'd always, like, try to, like, touch my hand and everything like that, like, all the time. And we were just, like, always hanging out. And then one time I was like, his friend was like, so what's going on? And like right in front of him. And I was like, this is so uncomfortable. I was like, no, it's nothing. He's like, well, why not? Like, what do you mean? And I was like, why are you doing this? Like, this is so uncomfortable. And then, like I texted him later. I was like, hey, like, I'm sorry. Like, I hope we're still okay. Like, and then I was realizing, like, I don't want to not hang out with him anymore, though. Like, I still want to hang out with him. And then we were, like, still hanging out. And then I was like, it was, like, after his friend, like, kind of, like, called me out on it, it kind of made me, like, reflect on it a little bit more. And I was like, I'm not talking to anybody else. I'm not even trying to talk to anybody else. I'm just always hanging out with you. Like, maybe I actually do like you.
I enjoy you.
Yeah.
Oh, is this... Oh.
And, like, my just, like, other perceptions and opinions are, like, getting in my way about it. And so then, yeah, I was just like, hey, I think I do like you.
That's awesome.
And then that was it. They were just, like, kept hanging out.
That's so cool. And you guys were friends first.
Yeah.
And, like, you got to know each other in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
It's always so interesting. And it's hearing you talk about it, it just reminds me, like we forget the beginning, right?
Yeah.
The beginning of it. And it is, like, just this fun, like, what? Like, what?
And I remember, like, because we were hanging out, and I remember, like, there was, like, I would, like, look at him, and I would just, like, all of a sudden I was, like, imagining, like a moment happening between us. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, is he, like, checking me out right now? Or, like, what if I, like, sat on his lap? Like, you know, this, like, little thing. And I was like, why am I all of a sudden picturing him this way? And, like, all those little things was happening, and I was like, okay, I think I like him. I think I like him.
That's so sweet. I love that. I love when couples find each other.
Yeah.
I love that.
Nice.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Would you like to do a top 5? What do you think?
We'll try,
we?
Yeah.
We'll try.
We'll try. Ooh, you know how I can get.
I wonder which one you'll
I know.
pick.
We're going to do a surprise grab.
So excited.
Top 5 childhood memories. Ooh. This one I think I can actually really do.
Oh, nice.
Because I have, like I was saying before, like, big family. My mom's one of 6. Like, all my cousins, like, every single one of my mom's siblings had anywhere from 2 to 5 kids of, like, their own. Wow. So I have a lot of cousins. And, like, they're all having all their own kids now. So we're getting it. We're just massive, massive, massive. And we all grew up within, like, a 5-mile radius of each other. So, like, I would see multiple relatives a week. And we would all get together for all family parties and stuff like that. And so childhood memories is definitely getting together with, like, my cousins at family parties. There was one with, like, my 2 older cousins. They're like 2 years older or 4 years older than me. My 2 girl cousins. They're each from different families, but they were the same age. And of course I want to hang out with, like, my cool older girl cousins. And this other guy that was my cousin's friend would always come to, like, family parties. And, like, he was, like, the older guy that was, like, not the family. So it was, like, everyone had a crush on him, you know?
Because he's the only non-family
right,
member.
the only non-family that would, like, come to the party. So we're like, oh, like, mysterious, you know? And so they, like, dared me one time to, like, yell out his name. And, like, oh, my God, it haunts me. And the guy was like, Luke, I have a crush on you. And then he, like, looked, and they were like, oh, my God, haunts me. But it's totally a childhood memory that they, like, made me yell out to him. It was so embarrassing. I remember afterwards I, like, ran and was, like, crying and, like, told my mom. And, like, I'm sure the guy didn't think, like, anything
right, totally.
of it.
Isn't that funny? Like,
oh, my God.
But to us, it's the end of the world. And he's like, I didn't even hear you.
Yeah, he's just like, what? Like, okay. Like,
well, little
I
girl.
guarantee he doesn't even, like, remember it, you know? Like, and it's just, like, ingrained. We were, like, sitting near the edge of the woods in the yard. Like, I can picture it.
Right,
I'm like,
I love
oh,
that.
My God. Another one is, again, with my cousins. We were all hanging out at my house, and we had, like, our little porch, and there was a window, and it was right into the kitchen. And my mom was in the kitchen, and it was open because it was, like, a nice day, and she could hear us all, like, playing outside, and I didn't know anything about, like, you know, swear words or anything like that. So, and I was, like, at that age, like, I'm, like, in the middle of everybody, so I was, like, not quite the youngest, but I was, like, old enough to kind of hang out with the older kids, but I was too old to hang out with, like, the younger ones you know, so
Totally.
so they could make me do stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I wanted to hang out. So they're like, well,
Yeah.
you got to do this to hang out with us, you know, like yell out things to people.
Right.
So they were like, you got to say fuck. Like, you got to say fuck. So I'm like, okay. So I say it, and my mom is like, what did you just say? Because she can hear me in the kitchen. She doesn't hear them telling me to say it. She only hears me say it. She's like, what did you just say? I had to get my mouth washed out with soap. She's like, and I was like, no, they made me. Nobody backed me up. They all
Of
were
course
like,
not.
no.
They're like,
Because it was great. That was gold to them. That's the best thing that could have happened. It was
Yeah.
funny me saying it. Even better that I had to get my mouth washed out with soap for it. And I was like, you assholes.
Oh my god.
Like, you're the worst. Bye. And then another one we'd always do was...
Do you remember the taste of soap?
It was, I'm imagining like orange. Like, I feel like it was like I don't know if it was the orange dial, like liquid, but that's what I'm imagining.
Oof.
And it's like very just soapy.
That's rough. Yeah.
And we're like, I'm pretty sure we were in the blue bathroom. There was like a bathroom that we had that had like a blue sink and like a blue tub. We always called that one the blue bathroom. And I feel like I was in the blue bathroom for that punishment, which was not my fault. But yeah, so don't do what people tell you to do just because they're telling you to do it.
Yes, right? Like, that's such a big lesson that we all have to learn.
Right? Like, don't just say something because someone's telling you to say it. Know what
You'll
you're saying.
remember it forever.
You'll remember it forever. But fun memories that I have at our childhood, and those are still fun.
Yeah.
But we had a big like sectional pull-out couch in our basement. So we would pull out the bed, and then that would create this like little crevice of space between like the couch and then the bed. So we would take the couch cushions that we pulled off from where the bed would come and kind of shove them in that gap. And it was either my older brother or one of the older cousins, like whoever was like around at the time, we'd play shark. And so we'd like run around, and they would like lift it up, and they would like reach their hands through the cushions and try to like pull us down.
That's so fun.
Oh my God. So much fun.
I love that. I just love the childhood games, right? Like, my dream is as adults we could do that again. Like, there
Right?
needs to be more of a place where that can happen.
Well, like, you can't play as an adult. It's like shamed to be like imaginative and like playful. That's why everything that you do is like it's so awesome, because you're like, I'm not afraid to like tap back into that. That's like enchantment that we like are somehow told to grow out of. Like, why?
Totally. Like, my dream is an adult playground. Like, you leave your ego at the door, and you have to party and have fun, like with each other. Like, remember, like, it's so gnarly how we forget.
Right? And it's like, it's all not that serious. Like, let's just have fun.
Let's just run and skin our knees and like,
God, like, when was the last time I stubbed my toe? I used to always have a stubbed toe. I'm like, again?
Grass stains. I haven't had grass stains on my bell bottoms in years.
The bell bottoms. Gosh, that's another thing. That's another thing that the winter did not agree with. No. Soggy.
That's something I never would have thought of.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Like, why'd you move out of the snow? I couldn't wear bell bottoms.
Couldn't wear my bell bottoms.
Yeah.
Couldn't bust these babies out. But another childhood memory was we'd have a lot of acorns in our yard. So we would do like acorn wars. That one was a little abusive. But my brothers and I would just basically gather a bunch of acorns and like throw them at each other. But it'd be fun sometimes because we'd get on the wagon, and it would be those ones where you could put, like, it was 4 parts. Like, there was like the curved front and the curved back, and then like the little sides that you would put on it. And so we would keep the curved front and we'd keep the curved back, but we'd take out the little side pieces. And my little brother and I would sit in the wagon, and my older brother would run us around the yard all crazy, trying to like whip us out of like the yard and stuff like that. It was basically like mechanical bull wagon
style
in the yard, but it would hurt because you would fall out on all the acorns, and it was just not
acorn wars.
And then you'd go on acorn wars from there. and that was it. But a good one you could do when you're in this adult playground, we would do it, we call it monkey. This is when I would play with my little brother, is we had our swing set, and it was like 4 swings. And from us swinging and like kicking our feet, the grass underneath was just gone. So it was just dirt patches. So on like the real sunny days, we'd take the hose, mud it all up, and we would step across the swings to get to the other side. And then like next level, we'd go and I'd take a swing and you'd like push it so it'd, swing around. So it'd be higher up. And then you'd go and you'd have to play like monkey across to like,
and not fall in the mud.
Pit. Yeah.
That's the best.
So that one we can do that one at the adult playground.
That's funny.
And that one was super fun.
See, listening to your games and then would just cross my mind. I was like, we had a swing set and one of the games we'd play, which truly now saying I'm like, what is going on? But it was called Danger Zone. And
sounds dangerous.
The names. We
write the names. So good.
And you'd be swinging, and one person would be down in front of you, and they'd have to throw something, whatever it was, and they'd try to hit your danger zone.
Oh my god!
So it would just be, and we'd sing the song, "Fly into the danger zone, danger zone," every time before you throw it. Like it's just, and this person just swinging, like no.
Right? I'm like, like you're swinging to get hit. So good. See,
yeah.
Another thing, like it was a lot of abusive games that we would come up with when we were kids, like Acorn Wars, like. Why? Like, why are we trying to hurt ourselves? Oh, reckless.
Totally. That's so funny. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So good. I know. I'm like, now like all these childhood memories coming back. I used to play like kick the can. And like we were right next to like a church. It was like a Methodist church. So it wasn't like a school or anything attached. It was like just like the church and the parking lot. Mm-hmm. So it was a big old parking lot, which was awesome to play around in. And it was like my house, my neighbor's house, the parking lot, which was great for high school when we had parties too.
Oh, yeah.
Like built-in parking, guys. Park in the parking lot.
Yes, it's a dream.
So good. But yeah, so we would always, play in the parking lot, and I'd always draw like a sidewalk street, from my driveway, like to the parking lot. And I'm like, why am I drawing this little path for me to ride with my bike? I'm like, so good. And we'd play like cops and robbers, red light, green light.
Yes.
So many good games.
We used to play this game called Ghost in the Night.
Ooh.
And we'd just be in my brother's room, which was a small room, and there was bunk beds in this room, and a futon, bunk beds, and then like a desk, a closet, like it wasn't a big room. Mm-hmm. And there'd usually be 3 of us or 4 of us, me and my best friend, my brother, his best friend, and we turn off the lights, and it was hide and go seek in the dark.
Okay.
But just in this one room.
But just in the room where there's like 3 hiding places.
And you can hear everything.
Right.
And so it would be the person that was would have to count in the corner by the door with the light switch. And then once time was up, right, the person that was would have to sing Ghost in the Night, a very scary fright.
Love it.
And just try to
find people.
And it was just, hours. And what's funny is I ended up bringing that game into our house and into our family, and we played it with the whole house and with all the lights off, and it was so much fun. So
I feel like hide and seek was like one of my favorite games.
I loved it, but I took it so seriously. Like, so often my memories of hide and seek is just me alone hiding for a long time.
Yeah,
contemplating my life.
That was and then
what
you're
am
like,
I doing?
Did everyone find everyone?
Is it over?
Is it too good of a spot? Like,
and then I didn't want to know where I was.
Right. And then do I peek out and like give myself away?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, the good old days.
The good old days.
Hide and seek.
Yes. Well, that was so much fun.
That was.
Thank you so much.
You.
Do you have any last closing statements?
Oh my gosh, I don't think so. Thanks for having me.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming, for meeting me. We haven't met.
No, this is our first meeting.
First time.
IRL.
Beyond the screen.
Yeah.
And I admire you.
I admire you.
And I'm so grateful to know you. This was so much fun.
It was.
You are a hoot. And
Thank you.
I really just enjoyed talking to you. And
it's been a good time.
thank you so much, Jessica.
I hope I'll be back.
Yes.
I just invited myself.
Yes, we have our first. Well, no, my husband is definitely the return guest. He's here all the time. But you can be the second most returning guest.
Love it. I'm in.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in, for showing up. Very grateful for you. Sending you a lot of love. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, your night, your week, your life.
Forever, ever.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace. Yay.